Hello again, DV here. This is September the 2nd, 2014. It's Tuesday afternoon. And I just wanted to make a quick little video and talk about the myth of the greatest generation. This is one of those subjects that I don't think I've seen a video about or heard one on it, but what it is you have the mainstream media and the mainline history always putting forth the idea that the young men that fought and won World War II for the United States were the greatest generation in the history of this country. Whatever, just the greatest generation that they're termed as. And they're promoted by the mainstream media and all the modern history books as such, because they won the Great War, World War II. Well, I have a different take on it, and, you agree with me or don't, this is simply my opinion. But the idea of the greatest generation, they were the greatest generation that was, they were the greatest propagandized generation, we'll say. And by that I mean, first, their families went through the roaring 20s and the bust of the stock market, the gold confiscation under FDR, and the Depression through the 30s, and then the build up to Hitler's Germany, which is another issue all in of itself. But the young guys that fought in World War II that came from this country were mainly a bunch of farm guys, rural farm families. They came from farms. And what happened to them? Well, the frenzy after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the orchestrated bombing that FDR allowed to go through, the big propaganda machine from the government whipped all these young farm kids and young city kids as well. There was big city young fellows that went and fought in this war as well. But it's not here nor there, where they came from. It's where they went, what they did, and how they were when they came back. That's where I have my issues. Look, they went over there and fought for the established government in this country, and, the whole war scenario, what happened, what really happened. It was a globalist conflict, no question about it. It was a manipulated war, just like all the wars. Countries are manipulated into this corner, into that corner, and built up by the big powers, the controllers of the world. Rothschilds, the Bushes, the Rockefellers, you can go down a whole litany of the names that are involved in all this matrix that we live in. But the point is, these poor guys went and fought a very brutal, bloody war. And they fought it under the illusion that they were saving freedom in this country. And granted, that was one of the outcomes. But what's occurred? What happened to that greatest generation? Well, let's see. They went to foreign war theaters around the world. The one in Europe, which was against Hitler, and then the Japanese Empire out in the Pacific, the South Pacific. Well, what happened to these young guys was, they were forced to kill or be killed. And if you think about it, That would be a hell of a situation to be in, wouldn't it? I mean, I've talked to some of these guys. You know, my dad fought in the South Pacific. He was on Okinawa in 1945, and won't go into details, but he didn't come back the same guy. But anyway, these guys were forced into a hopeless situation, and they were fighting for self-preservation. A lot of them, you know, who knows the percentage, but, you know, they murdered people. They killed them in self-defense cases. They raped civilian populations in these countries that they were invading. You know, all kinds of mental issues just waiting to hatch when they got back to this country. And hatch they did. And if you think about it, after the war, these guys came home. Many of them, you know, got into manufacturing because the factories were all humming away because of the war effort. And so they had steady, good incomes to step into, you know, jobs to support families and stuff when one income would do it at the time. Well, these guys, they came back with this mental baggage from what happened to them and what they did in the war, you know, and they projected it onto their family lives. You know, they come home, they get married, the young women, they have children, you know, the baby boomers. And a lot of cases, you know, not all, but many, you know, these were dysfunctional families. You get those old lines, you know, from this time frame, you know, the man is the king of his castle. Stuff like that, you know. And to a degree that was true because they ruled as a dictator over the family. They were a self-centered group of men that came back with a lot of mental baggage from the crimes and the atrocities that they committed and saw themselves. Now, they were primed to be selfish when they came back after what they experienced. No doubt about that. But what occurred from that time, also the mid-40s to mid-70s, even into the 80s and stuff, but, you know, there was the men of that era, the greatest generation, so-called, they ran their households in a self-centered manner that's just unbelievable when you look at how family life is nowadays in this country. And grant you, it's dysfunctional to this day. And that's, it's difficult to break this cycle, and where it's going to stop, you know, who knows. But, you know, they cheated on their wives. A lot of them beat their wives. They beat their kids. They took the income that they had, they doled out a little bit to run the household, and the rest they went out and spent on themselves. In a lot of cases. Now, not all were this way, but many were. And that led to a high divorce rate, high drug usage from the children in the 60s and 70s in this nation. And you know, in the early 70s, you had this sprouting of the equal rights movement around the country, you know, the feminist movement. Well, the stuff like this was outgrowth of that, and the federal government fueled it, you know. Look how many marriages now end in divorce where the wife just rakes the poor guy over the coals, and he has no, you know, no clue what happened to him a lot of times. But my point is, I'm straying from the subject, even though it's all intertwined. It's a societal issue that started back then when the greatest generation returned from war. And it just progressed, and now we are to the point where, you know, the baby boomers, which I'm one of, is getting close to the retirement age or has already retired in some cases. But the society that has been contrived and has evolved from all the propaganda from the government and the mainstream media nowadays. Even then, they you know, just all a big matrix that we live in. And the quicker and the sooner everybody understands that and searches for the only answer, there's only one answer to solve the ills that are afflicting this nation right now. And that's to turn to God. You have to turn to Jesus and have faith in God. You know, love each other, love one another, spread love, help people. Don't just go with the flow to, you know, break free. How else are you going to break free if you're not true to yourself? But this is just, you know, I'm just trying to lay it out that a lot of where we are today started back with the greatest generation. Thanks for your time. Have a great evening.